Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. On this third day of September, we are 24 hours away from kickoff of the NFL season. Here, I've got all of my predictions in. Took a lot of work, between my moving and everything this year. I didn't get a chance to really take more time on these divisions. I still got a lot of faith in what I'm picking. It's just I need more time, and hopefully next year I'll be able to get that in more. But I'm usually pretty good, other than injuries hold back everybody and whatnot. But anyways, stand by. We'll take our first and only break. I'll give you a quick take on that North Carolina game. I'll be back here shortly, and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then, I'm back here live on this September day. Let me give you a few quick takes here, folks, on the North Carolina game. A few things after the game had ended. Saw a few things on the internet, particularly Jordan Hudson, the girlfriend, walking around on the sidelines and whatnot. Seeing all that, noticing now that his sons, they gave up 40 something point. It was 20-7 at halftime. I thought, okay, well, make some adjustments. Belichick, maybe that defense will swarm in the second half, and this will be a tight game. And of course, it's 48-14. But after all that, you see the fact that, again, 24-year-old girlfriend roaming around the sidelines. Belichick, that is not on brand for him. He is more of a no distract. What other coaches, man, this 70-something-year-old coach, what other coach's girlfriend or wife or whatever roaming their sidelines? It's something you don't hear of. If I criticize guys like Deion Sanders at 24 years old or 23 or whatever, bringing in his brother in the locker room to record him confronting a reporter, I've got to say something about Bill Belichick, a legendary coach in the NFL, having his girlfriend walking around the sideline, whether she's got a job with the team or not. It seemed to be a distraction, if you ask me. And the fact that he's got three, I heard yesterday, three of his sons are on the team there. Coach, I know his son's is the defensive coordinator there. Not exactly the best coordinator. You got nepotism running rapid there. His Mike Lombardi, his friend, I think he worked with him with the Cleveland days going back 30-something years. His son works on the staff. And you getting all this, and the fact you got a guy like Freddie Kitchens, not the best offensive mind in the world, running your offense with those 70-something transfers or something like that, you're going to have some problems here. This looks more like, now I may be wrong, it's early, maybe he can make some adjustments. This looks more like he's just trying to get his son a job and make everybody around him happy. And he's kind of just melded in as a coach, make his girlfriend happy, get his son started in the league. It's very un-Bill Belichick-like, where he likes to take things over and build upon that, get the best possible staff around him, and do everything he can to win games. This doesn't seem like the case. We'll see. Those are just observations. Observations right there. I know this is a fairly easy schedule. They've got a few more hard games, but they can win easily 7-8 games here. But let's see how this thing plays out. But those little observations right there look like distractions to me. And it doesn't look good for Bill Belichick. So let it play out. But just not a good look all the way around for one of the greatest coaches, if not the greatest coach of all time. Just not ending well, if you ask me. Okay. All right. So last we talked, I went over the AFC, finished up the AFC, and now I'm in the I did the NFC East, of course, finished off Thursday night, Monday's recorded show, second half recorded show. I did the NFC East, and of course, I had finished in Philadelphia 1, Washington, then who else was it? The Giants, and then the Dallas Cowboys finishing last. Okay, going to give you the rest of the NFC, and of course, I'll give you the NFC playoff picture. We'll give you the actual AFC playoff picture. I just gave you the standings last time. And then I'll give you my Super Bowl prediction. Here we're sitting at 24 hours and about 20 minutes away from kickoff. Woo! But I'm not really looking forward to that game. Maybe it'll be good early, and I'll see Philadelphia pulling away late in the second half in that game tomorrow. Okay, now, the Bears are the first team I'm going to talk about here in the NFC North here. Being high on the Bears all season. The Bears have not had the best training camp per se. If you look at it all around, looking for my notes here, folks, just kind of bear with me here as I look at the Chicago Bears. Okay, now the Bears per se, they fired Matt Eberflus. Probably should have fired him last year, but they just the defense looked pretty tight there at the end, so they went on, hired a new offense coordinator and kept him, blah blah blah, and had an off season. They finished 5-12 last year, so they went on and fired the organization, fired him, brought in highly sought after Ben Johnson. Okay. Reading over and looking over the camp news and everything, Ben Johnson had a lot of trouble early with Caleb Williams, working him under center, trying to squeeze his system in there. But he did say, listen, we're just trying to give as much as we can, and then we'll see where he struggles. We'll take that back, talking about Caleb Williams per se, okay? You kind of look at it in that perspective here. And but all that being said, yeah, he did not play the first preseason game, but he looked really good in the little bit of time that he did play in the second game of the against the Buffalo Bills. They actually won that game like 38-0 now. Of course, backups on backups per se. But this is a very good roster. I've been talking about it in the offseason for some time. They fixed their offensive line. They've added pieces. They really didn't need to add that much on their defense per se, but they added a tight end there. Was it Loveland or whatever from Michigan? And then they added a wide receiver there, a skill player, Luther Burton. So, like Ben Johnson said the other day, day before yesterday, we got to have we got so much talent. We got to make sure to feed everybody between Rome Odunze, DJ Moore. You've got your two tight ends there, Cole Kmet, not to mention him, Swift, running back. They've just flooded with talent on both sides of the ball. They've got a pass rush. They got a cornerback. And all of it comes down to, now, of course, they're in a very tough division here. It comes down to, can Caleb Williams really make those throws to win games here. And just their schedule is brutal, man. Their schedule is, I did not know it was that hard. Now, I will say this. I will say this in all due respect, how difficult the schedule is. I think they're going to win Sunday night. It's not, I think it's Sunday afternoon, but I want to say it's a problem. It's a Sunday or Monday night, I want to say. Coming up here on September 7th, excuse me. Now I've done turned past their schedule. Here we go. So now their schedule is, like I said, it's brutal. They open up, Sunday night. No, wait a minute. The 8th. That may be a Monday night game, and that's not good for them. Yeah, that is Monday night against the Minnesota Vikings at home. I know Mike and Vikings, great coaching staff there, but they're starting J.J. McCarthy. I like this Bears team. To get that win, first win of the season, get that win early. But then they're play at Detroit this year. They have that early bye. I don't like that for any team, but if anything, a young team like this can survive an early bye in week 5. 1, 2, 3. Week 5. I think it's ridiculous to have buys that soon. But either way, they have that bye week on October 5th. But this team plays at Baltimore, at Cincinnati, at Philadelphia, at Green Bay, at San Francisco. Those are all playoff caliber. At Washington, that's off the bye week. I think they'll beat Washington. It's funny, they played at Washington last year off the bye week. Remember, they lost that game off the fluke play. I think they'll actually win that game this time around. So you look at that schedule plus this NFC North, maybe I overreacted a little bit to Detroit. Detroit just lost the center and both coordinators, but that defense had a lot of injuries last year. Your Aiden Hutchinsons of the world, a lot of those guys are going to be back, including Aiden Hutchinson looks to be back. So this Bears team, as high as I've been on them in the offseason, adding the pieces to the offensive line, adding those skill players, adding Ben Johnson to help Caleb Williams put it all together, I say all that, and they were 5-12. I've got them closer to 7-10 to 9-8. I have them technically at 6-10, but 9-8 range could possibly sneak in that playoff card round. Okay, I was more high on them just by the moves they made, but then again, I looked at that schedule, road games, young quarterbacks still figuring out system, just not so sure about that. Sorry about that, John Rostano. I thought this team was going to be much stronger than that. And it is physically strong, but it's just a rough schedule. This is one of the worst break. Again, look at this. Look at that. They play the AFC North at Baltimore, at Cincinnati, 2 potential Super Bowl teams right there. Philadelphia was in a Super Bowl last year, won the freaking thing. And, of course, you got to play at Green Bay. That's in your division. But at San Francisco, who's back and better than ever in certain spots there. Pittsburgh, I mean, it's just a very rough schedule there for a young quarterback learning a new system here. But we'll see. Again, from 6-10 to or 6-11, to a 9-8, maybe even 10-7 type of team would not be out of the question. But I got them finishing at 6-10. That's very unfortunate, but it is what it is. But hey, that's why you play the games. It's hard to predict this stuff, So, anyways, now you want to go to the Detroit Lions here. Just in order of way I've set all this up, folks. It's not really anything particular on this. I just happen to set it up like that. Okay. Let me make sure and get my. I've got so many notes here. The Lions. Okay. Now again. Talking about the Lions now, they did lose both Aaron Glenn and John. Glenn may be an upgrade. Like I said, Glenn, I think, was a big problem as a defensive coordinator early on. They fired at one point a few years ago their secondary coach. They got better in the secondary. He did work wonders with Les last year. Did improve a lot as a coordinator because, like I said just earlier, the Lions had a lot of injuries on defense, particularly Aiden Hutchinson, which I think came back late February, if I'm not mistaken. So now they also lost Frank Ragnow, their center there. So they do have some concerns there. Putting in a new offensive coordinator is good. I mean, I was just watching some of what Detroit was doing last year with the Jared Goff and Netflix thing, and I tell you what, man, they really drew up some really nice plays last year. Not sure if the in-house hire here at this John Morton, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do that. I'm not so sure. And I like Jared Goff, but we've seen him play bad at times when he didn't have the proper coaching around him. Remember what he did with Jeff Fisher. I don't think he's going to look like he did as a rookie under Jeff Fisher. But that being said, the Lions are going to play well this year. I think they'll get off to a little bit of a bumpy start. They lose at Green Bay to open the season. They rebound, though. They rebound. They're not going to get the number 1 overall seed and whatnot, but I do think they play really well, and they get 11-6 record there, okay? And like I said, I'll give you the whole thing here in just a little bit, the entire division. But so far, I've gave you the Bears at the worst record in the North. I want to say 6-11. But now I've also gave you the Lions at 11-6. Now, like I said, I'm just previewing these organizations, and as this magazine is set up here with all my notes, no particular order. I'll give you the order at the very end. Okay, now Green Bay. Green Bay was 10-7 last year. I thought they played the Eagles pretty well. Remember, it's a 22-10 game. Eagles pulled away pretty late there. I thought they played pretty handily against a really good Eagles team. You could see them improve. Remember, they had the Eagles on the ropes in the Brazil game to open the season. Eagles catch up. Then Love gets hurt, puts them out a few weeks there. You could tell there was some trying to get his timing back, although they did weather the storm. They finished 10-7 again. Got a wild card spot last year. Now they're healthy. Now they've added this guy, Matt Golden here. Very speedy. Had a good preseason, too. Wide receiver there out of Texas. And then, of course, you add the players around him as well. Was it Watson and whatnot? The Musgrove, that tight end. Still got Josh Jacobs there. And the big piece, obviously, I talked about this last week with Michael Parsons there. Adding Michael Parsons along with Rashawn Gary. And, of course, they did have to give up Kenny Clark. But this Jeff Hatley really upgraded that defense. Took a step last year. Now with Micah Parsons, they're going to take a bigger step this year. It's less to put on. And this is what I would say if I'm Matt LaFleur. I tell Jordan Love, I say, listen, man, you do not have to do a lot here, okay? You don't have to do a lot here. In other words, you don't have to work too fast where you're getting your foot caught up on an offensive lineman or whatnot, or offensive lineman, backs into your foot or whatnot. We need you to stay healthy, run this offense efficiently. Don't try to do too much. We'll punt it off. We've got a wicked defense now. We're going to be fine. We're going to make that big jump here, okay? So, that being said, I've also got them at an 11-6 record here. Keep that in mind, and I'll give you the rest of the NFC North here in just a second, all right? Now, Minnesota. Man, they were 14-3 last year. Did not look good against the Lions. Lions just seemed to have had their number. Lions swept them. Remember the Lions? I want to say the Lions ended up beating that team 3 times last year. Uh, they beat them twice, and then of course they go on the road and get handled by the Rams pass rush there. Sam Darnold, very pedestrian in both the Lions' last game of the season, and of course against that wicked pass rush there of the Rams. Jared Verse playing great. So you look at that fact, and then you look at a guy like a Jordan Addison of this team, who will be suspended the first 3 games. This Minnesota team, uh, they didn't really. O'Connell really did not like the way that Darnold played at the end, so they just rolled the dice. They went with the second year Mike McCarthy. Yeah, second year. Boy, here we go. This is why you don't get away from your notes too much, Um, JJ McCarthy here. Remember, he got injured last year in training camp. McCarthy got injured last year in training camp. So you look at all that, and I understand you got Brian Flores there, and a very good, well coached Kevin O'Connell team. It's just too many questions there. Other than that, I simply do not think that they're going to win 14 games. I think that McCarthy barely threw a pass in college. He'd go a whole half and barely throw 1 or 2 passes, if not any, when he was at Michigan. And he's coming back from injury. So it's just too many questions early on. I think they get off to a rough start. They'll rebound later on, but I got them finishing 8-9. And for this division, let me say it slowly, the NFC North, I have Green Bay winning this thing by a tiebreaker, whether it be division or whatever. But they'll be 11-6 also. And Detroit will get a wild card. And Detroit will finish second. Minnesota 8-9 will finish third. And, the Bears will finish at 4th at 6-11, 7-10. Could the Bears take off and win 2 or 3 more games and flip it to 9-8 or 10-6? Absolutely. Absolutely. But right now, again, the way their schedule is, it just don't look that way. But that's why you play the games. You never know who's going to be injured when you're playing an older team. You never know how many players just come into their own, and you just start playing well. That's what makes the game great and why it's so popular. One of many reasons. But so that's it in a nutshell. Green Bay's your new winner in the NFC North with Detroit and, of course, Minnesota and the Bears there in last place. Okay? All righty then. From the north side to the south side, finishing up the AFC, folks. Atlanta Falcons, another team, had Kirk Cousins for a little while. Then they drafted Michael Penix. Kirk Cousins off to a decent start. Starts to fade out, starts to look washed up. Seems like that Achilles was bothering him last year. He gets benched. Michael Penix comes in, provides a little bit of a spark, but not enough for them to get to the playoffs. Remember, they finished 8-9. They finished 8-9. The left-hander did spark something there with this team. Now they've got Bijan Robertson. Very good running back. I expect them to have a great year behind this really good offensive line here. Plus, they added James Pierce, edge rusher there from Tennessee. At one time, Pierce was considered to be the number 1 overall pick. Okay, but Atlanta. There's a lot of optimism in Atlanta. There is a lot of optimism in Atlanta. We'll see what happens with them. Trying to see where I have them here. I'm making sure I got. Now I have them at 9-8, so I got them 1 game better than last year. But we'll see how it plays out for this team. They could very well easily win this division. I'll give you the NFC South full standings here in just a little bit. this previewing every team here as it thunders outside. We get some rain. I'm glad it's raining now when I'm at home and we're not in outside driving and hearing it thunder in the background. Okay, now Carolina, another team. You might not see it in the win and loss column, but they won 2 of their last 3. Hung in there against the Eagles. Seemed to have a little bit of a depth issue. Couldn't put it out together a few games in a row. But I started seeing gradual improvement. Started seeing the team getting behind a Bryce Young here. And, they end up finishing 5-12. Love this first-round pick, Tatoria McMullen. Better known as T-Mac McMillan or whatever. I'm sure I'm jacking his last name up. But T-Mac out of Arizona, University of Arizona, fell to them. Thought he may go a little bit higher. He was presented in the offseason primarily as the number 1 receiver coming in. So they got the number 1 receiver according to both scouts in the draft there, okay? But, Carolina, they're a team here that they could make a run here. They could very well make a run. They can surprise some people here, but I'm just not so sure about it. That's you got to look at Tampa. Seems ahead of them. Atlanta seems ahead of them. But that's why you play the game. You just never know who's going to jump off at you and play really well. I got them going right about that same record there at 5-12, maybe 6-11, maybe more competitive. And some you say, well, that's one game record. But you got to look and see how much more, because there were some games they got totally demolished last year. I want to say Cowboys blew them out, if I'm not mistaken. So you got to look at it in the proper context of the way these games played out. 30-14 against Dallas, 48-14 at Tampa. So they'll play really well one week and then get blown out the next. That's a young team going through the growing pains here. But what if they don't have any blowout games this year? What if it is 5-12, but 6 of those games they lost were 1-score games and no blowout games. Maybe they were one late 2-score game. So you got to look at the growth that way. I do see this team growing, and they could be a sleeper. But right now, I got them either going 5-12 to 8-9, optimistically high end for this Carolina Panther team. So let's see if Bryce Young can stay healthy. Can he make the next step? He's made some big throws. He's played better last year than I thought he would. Than I actually thought he would. I thought he was going to be a complete bust here. So, anyways, NFC South. Let's continue here. And I got all these things running together here. The Saints just happen to be the team on the next page. I've been saying for the last 2-3 years that this Saints team, they need to rebuild. They need to bust the team open, blow the team up per se. Last few years, it looks like ownership just don't want to make a move on general manager and Mickey Loomis, who is constantly readjusting the cap. Really, this has happened since last 5 years, I want to say, since Drew Brees retired. They've been $80-100 million over the cap. Not quite that situation now, but they would be in a much better situation if they just moved off of a lot of players and went with young players, extremely young players. 3-4 years ago, they'd be in a lot better shape right now. But this guy refused to do that. I don't know that keep his job or whatever. I don't know if Miss Benson, the owners, is too passive. But either way, I do blame Mickey Loomis for letting this thing ride the way it has. I think they're in for a really rough season. Because they should have let some older players go. But for example, they drafted Tyler Shue from Louisville, the 25-year-old quarterback. Had a great season, but it was 25 years old. Been around for a long time here. got him in the second round, but he was beat out by Spencer Rattler, last year's fourth-round pick here. And, of course, they moved off Dennis Allen last year, and they got Keelan Moore, the offensive coordinator from the Eagles, to take over. Not sure about Keelan Moore there. Not sure about this guy. I mean, now you got Spencer Rattler, consistently inconsistent player. Plays great one week, totally out of it the next week. Saw that going back to his college days. Remember, he was actually beat out by Caleb Williams in his sophomore year, I want to say, at Oklahoma. And then he had the transfer to South Carolina. And he played some last year. Wasn't too bad, but it wasn't a world beater. But the fact that this 25-year-old quarterback got beat out by him tells me they're going to be in line for a quarterback next year. I got them going about 3-14. You know, the over and under for the Saints is 5-5 record there. Maybe they win 4 or 5 games, but I got them finishing last place and getting one of the best picks, if not the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft coming up in April, which I'm not looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the season, but I just call balls and strikes. And, of course, Tampa, the last team I want to talk about, Baker Mayfield, Todd Bowles, coach quarterback combination, 2 straight division titles. Hats off to both of them. Doubted both of those guys. And hats off again to Baker Mayfield with Tampa there. Actually, Baker Mayfield winning the division there, folks, with 2 different coordinators. He's on his 3rd coordinator now. Josh Rizzard, I mean, the other coordinator's now the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars there. They end up drafting Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, and he is having a wonderful camp. I expect him to be showcased this weekend. I think they play Atlanta to open the season up. A friend of mine said he's going to try to go to that game in Atlanta. I said, yeah, that's another rival game. Tampa and Atlanta and New Orleans, that's a pretty hefty rival there. Either way, this is a good team here. I think was it Matt Light, the general manager down there, has really hit on some of these draft picks here. Looks like he's hit on another draft pick. So either way, I've got this team going 10-7 to win the South again. I wanted to pick Atlanta, but I just like the way the schedule played out. Of course, Atlanta could win. I got them at 9-8. It's going to be a one. This is going to come right down to. This is going to come down to the maybe last week or so between Atlanta and Tampa. But I've got Tampa winning it, Atlanta, Carolina, and, of course, the Saints finishing 4th and desperately needing rebound. And, of course, when I finish up on the which I've already done, the South, now I'm going to do the West. Then I'll give you folks my playoff picture and Super Bowl pick. Okay, now, Arizona, trendy pick here for Arizona. A lot of the media is picking the Arizona Cardinals to win, get into the playoffs, be that sleeper team, potentially win the division. Some people just throwing out, hey, man, they got this defense and that. Yeah, they did finish eight wins last year. But look at how they finished. And this has been my knock on Arizona ever since Kyler Murray's been there. They seem to get off to good starts, and then they fade late. They lost 5 of their last 7 games last year. Yeah, you heard that right. They lost 5 of their last 7 games last year. And people want to look at them as they're this big team that's about to break. And they could listen, if they do, I'll be the first to say, hey, man, it's all good. Kudos to Arizona. But either way, I think that they've got Marvin Harrison there. I saw the chemistry start to develop as the season went along there between him and Kyler Murray. But, a lot of talk about their defense, and they added Walter Nolan from Ole Miss there in the draft. Well, Walter Nolan is going to be out at least the first 4 games. He's on the PUP list, so we don't know when he's going to come back. Maybe he comes back 5 weeks in. That would be, if you're lucky, that's best case scenario because he can't come off the there. But and they're a team that can go on the road and beat anybody. Don't get me wrong, but they're also a team that can lose to anybody. You know, you see them losing at home to Detroit, losing home to Washington. Okay, lost at Seattle, lost at Minnesota, lost Seattle at home last year, lost at Carolina, lost at the Rams. So it's and a lot of those are towards the end of the season. Kyler Murray's a short quarterback. He just not big enough to withstand a 17 game season. He's got these nagging injuries here and he can't see over the line. You can't put him under center too much because he can't see. He's my height, maybe an inch taller. I'm 5'8". He's probably 5'9", 5'10". But either way, I got him finishing. And Gannon may be on the hot seat, but then again, Michael Bidwell can't find anybody. That's probably why he hired Gannon, because nobody wanted to work for the guy. That's the owner there of the Arizona Cardinals. So, in a nutshell, I've got them fading late as usual, 6-11. That's my record for the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, Rams. Now, Rams finished 10-7 last year. Looked great in the actual playoffs. Saw them play well last year against Minnesota there. Destroyed Minnesota. Went on the road and played really well. Went on the road, played really well. Almost pushed the Eagles there. Knocked out the Eagles. Look as good as the Eagles look, But the biggest concern about this Rams team was and is the health of Matt Stafford. He's had a back injury that's nagged him all throughout camp. He didn't play most of camp these last 2 weeks. He's finally practicing full practice and whatnot. And it looks like this week they're finally getting the left tackle in there. And they got to go open up against the Houston, who has their own problems with the offensive line. I talked about them on Monday, right? On Monday's show, which was aired last night. But that being said, they did pick up Davante Adams, and they do have their left tackle back. And Stafford has been practicing the last few weeks. And Jared Verse is borderline defensive player of the year quality guy at the pass rush. So they look good up front. We saw the way they played at the end. We know what what's his name, Kyron Williams, the running back there, can do there. We know what that running game can do. So right now, I got them finishing the exact same record at 10-7, because I don't know when and where that back injury is going to nag this 37-year-old quarterback there, Matt Stafford. He's not getting any younger per se. But they got Puka Nacua. They got Davante Adams, which was a great move. Getting Davante Adams over a Cooper Kupp, who seemed to be washed or lost a step, whatever you want to say at the end there. I thought that was a very good move there for them to move off him. Okay, now the 49ers. One of the best moves the 49ers did. I'm talking to NFC West. I'll give you my record here in just a little bit. 49ers got healthy, folks. But one of the best moves they made was bringing back Robert Saleh. Remember, Saleh got fired from the Jets as a head coach. Now, maybe Saleh's not a head coaching material. Maybe he'll get another shot here in a few years. But either way, he's a very good coordinator with them. The best one they've had under Kyle Shanahan. And I know they've lost a few players, Drake Greenlaw and Bufanga, the safety. But Bufanga was injury prone anyways. I like the fact that they got this, what's his name, Mikael Williams, off of the edge rusher out of University of Georgia there. They got him back. They got him in the first round. Remember, they didn't finish well last year, so they got a higher draft pick. Now they won't have Brandon Ayuk for the first 4 weeks, and they did trade Deebo Samuel. That is a little bit concerning, but they have brought in their former early round pick. I don't know if it's a first or second round pick, I want to say, from the year before last. the Florida wide receiver there that they brought in, Ricky Pearsall, looks pretty good in the preseason. Liked what I saw out of him. Liked the fact that they signed traded, got Brian Robertson to offset Christian McCaffrey. That run game is going to be money. You got a healthy Trent Williams out here now. You got George Kittle. And, of course, you still got Juwan Jennings there. Big playmaking wide receivers. You start to put this mix of these new players in with Kittle, of course, at tight end, and you got a pretty good offense there. And the defense still hasn't that. The defense will be play better under Saleh. They showed they played better. And unlike the Chicago Bears, they got a pretty good cake-like schedule. Listen to this. Open up at Seattle, at New Orleans, so I said probably get number one pick. Arizona at home. Jacksonville. Think about this. Jacksonville to San Francisco. What a trip that is. Jacksonville at home. They got to play at Houston, the Giants, Carolina. Two teams that may not play. And then they play Tennessee off a bye week. They got that late December 7th bye. So the older players, that'll be great for them. And at Indianapolis, Chicago at home. When they've gotten fresh legs and got that late bye, Chicago got a very early bye there for Frisco. So I think it's going to play out well for them. I think they finish around 13 and 4 per se. Okay. So that's the 49ers. Make sure I got everybody here. And I'll go ahead and give you, and then the Seahawks. Now the Seahawks, I think this is my final team of the West. Then I'll give you my playoff predictions and whatnot. The Seahawks, that's the end of it. A lot of people higher than what I am. Remember, the Seahawks lost two of their leading receivers last year, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. All right. And they're putting a lot of faith in Jackson Smith-Njigba here. And Sam Darnold, a guy that really just played well in O'Connell's system, and we saw how he played the last two games. He didn't look great at all. They rolled the dice and said, we can't do any worse than Geno Smith. I don't know. I think maybe, the more I think, maybe it's a push, maybe slightly better, but he's got less to throw to than Geno Smith. They're leaning a lot on Jackson, and I like Jackson Smith-Njigba. Maybe that'll work out, but you got a defensive-minded head coach there. You don't quite got the craftiness of O'Connell or Ben Johnson on that team. So I just don't think it's going to work out the way people think it's going to down in Seattle. I know they got a great home field advantage. They have in the past. But they brought in Cooper Kupp, who looks like he's lost a step, maybe even considerably washed up at this point. So they were 10-7 last year. I'm thinking more of a 8-9 type of team or 9-8. I think they're going to come up short this year, and the people are going to be disappointed. And McDonald, they're going to look to see maybe we just kind of got a younger neutral Pete Carroll when we wanted to move off Pete Carroll, because this would be year number 3 for him, if I'm not mistaken. So, or year 2. It doesn't make any difference. They're going to come up short. Let's talk about the NFC playoff picture before I get too sidetracked here, folks. Let's see. Going to NFC playoff picture. Okay, so here's who makes the playoffs, all right? I've got Philadelphia as a 1 seed, San Francisco as a 2 seed, Green Bay as a 3. The Packers edge out the Lions, per se. They edge out the Lions and barely win that. And the 4 seed, Tampa, 3 years in a row, go figure. And, of course, the wild cards, I'm going to have Detroit at 11-6. The Rams at 10-7, and Washington, they find a way to get back in at 10-7. So could Atlanta slide in there? Yes. Could the Bears slide in there? Absolutely. All right. Could maybe it all comes together with that defensive line. Could the Giants slide in there? So those are potential teams that could. They could. Okay. Maybe Arizona. They were 8-9 last year. I think they're going to fall apart, but we'll see. So that's my playoff picture. Let me go over it one more time. The 1 seed, Philly goes back, gets the 1 seed. Frisco gets the 2 seed. Green Bay gets the 3. Tampa gets the 4. Your wild cards are Detroit at 5, the Rams at 6, and the Washington Commanders, as of right now, at 7. So in the wild card round, I have Washington obviously going to play San Francisco. Frisco wins. All right. The Rams will play at the Packers. The Packers win. Packers get a big win there with that pass rush. They get the win. And then Detroit will play at Tampa Bay. They get the road win as well. Divisional round, you'll have the 1 seed there. Philadelphia against the lowest seed that's available. That would be Detroit. Detroit will lose to Philly at home. Green Bay, San Francisco. Now, this is at Frisco. I think Frisco will win. And, of course, San Francisco will play at the Eagles. But this time, Frisco is healthy. The quarterback don't get knocked out early. And they beat the Eagles, who are not quite as hungry this year. Okay? Not quite as hungry this year. They knock the Eagles out and represent the NFC, folks, in the play in the Super Bowl. Okay? Now, here's my AFC playoff picture here. Number 1, no real surprise, the Buffalo Bills will get the 1 seed. The Chiefs will get the 2. I know people don't want to hear that, but the Chiefs get the 2 seed there with Kansas City. They win the West. Baltimore, I had Cincinnati at first. I thought, I got the depth. Baltimore's going to win the North. Baltimore will be the 3 seed. Jacksonville, although it'll be tight division, Jacksonville will win the South. Houston won't make the playoffs. Tennessee won't make it, but Tennessee could. You never know. But so I've got Jacksonville winning the South. And, of course, wild cards, I've got the LA Chargers at the 5 seed. I've got the Cincinnati Bengals, since they got Shamir Stewart and Trey Henderson and new defensive coordinator, and you got your players, your big names wrapped up at receiver there. They get the 6, and the Steelers get the 7 seed. So maybe Denver gets that 7 seed and the Steelers fall apart. I think this is the year that maybe Denver, like I said earlier, I thought Denver kind of overachieved last year, to say the least. Well, of course, we know they did. I think they fall a little bit down more to earth. They'll be a borderline playoff team, but they won't quite get there due to the way the schedule's set up. So I got Pittsburgh at 7, and the playoff picture, of course, Pittsburgh will play at Kansas City, and they'll lose. And Cincinnati will play at Baltimore, but they'll win this time. They'll beat Baltimore in a tight game, but they will beat Baltimore. The Chargers will go across country and beat Jacksonville. Remember last time they played in the playoffs, they got that big lead, and they couldn't beat Jacksonville. That don't happen this time. They actually get the win this year, and no 30-point lead or 28-point lead blown. So they go across country and win that one. And in the divisional round, the Chargers will have to go back to – so they have to fly back to maybe they'll stay on the East Coast. You never know what Harbaugh's going to do. But either way, then they got to go from Jacksonville. They got to go play Buffalo, the 1 seed, because they're a wild card. And, of course, Buffalo's going to knock them out. Cincinnati will go to Kansas City and beat Kansas City in the divisional round. Cincinnati will go to Buffalo thinking they're going to beat Buffalo the way they did 27-10 a few years ago. But Buffalo, a much layered, deeper team, okay, than they were 2-3 years ago when they played Cincinnati in the playoffs, okay? So Buffalo will get back to the Super Bowl, first time since 1993. The Buffalo Bills will get to the Super Bowl. and they will play the San Francisco 49ers, and they'll finally get Josh Allen will hold that Lombardi trophy up, and that they'll win the Super Bowl. Now, listen, could the Rams get back? Yes. Could the Eagles simply repeat, stay focused? Of course, the Eagles could read. A lot of people will say that. I think when it comes right down to it, a lot of prognosticators will pick them. So again, I've got the starting to say the Eagles. I've got the Bills over the Niners to win the whole thing, but we'll see. We'll see. It's a long season. It's a crapshoot. Hard to measure who comes up out of nowhere. Hard to measure injuries. Just hard to get a good plug on that. Just do a recap of today's show. Going back to that Bill Belichick, North Carolina thing, maybe he makes the proper adjustments. It's just the optics of seeing the girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, walk up and down the sideline when he's about no distractions. He supposedly got rid of Wes Welker because he made a comment about his play was going downhill too, but he made a comment about footsie with who was it? The video of I forgot his name now. That coach there, the Jets at the time, Rex Ryan, and he moved off of a nagging Randy Moss at one point. Trade you in the middle of the week. He's not about distractions. He traded a defensive end one time on their bye week, defensive end was hollering about money all throughout the offseason, throughout training camp, and just even worse, of the regular season, he traded one of their best defensive players. They played well that year anyways. I want to say it was one of the years that they actually got back to Super Bowl and won it, but a guy that's all about winning, eliminate distractions. One of his chants was no days off. He's got 3. I want to say, I heard the other day he's got 2 other sons. I didn't know he had 2 other sons. I know his son's a defensive coordinator. I know that for a fact. You got the girlfriend, 24-year-old girlfriend, and that's cool with the fact she's 24. I'm okay with that. I said I was okay with that. But she's got to stay out of the way, even if she is a social media person or whatever. She works for him, his brand, or whatever. Like I said, I can't get on to a guy like Shedeur Sanders about having distractions, having his brother follow a reporter, film his brother in the locker room, have him confront a reporter about not saying stuff good about him or whatever. And then you got a Belichick who's 70-something years old, who knows better, but just doing it anyways, bringing in his friend's sons, bringing in his son, girlfriend on the sideline, distraction, not putting the best possible coaching staff together. With the whole nepotism thing, you look at the fact that, who was it I was thinking about the nepotism issue? Oh, God, I forgot her name now. I'll think of it. Jenny Paul. Remember her? I had her on the program. And Gabe Paul was her dad. He was a former general manager of the Yankees. He helped orchestrate the sale of the Yankees. He actually owned part of the Yankees for a little while. And she was a reporter, made her way up through sports broadcast journalism, and she wanted to get like Catfish Hunter, somebody big, I can't remember who it was, from the Yankees, and he wouldn't let her do it. He would not. He said, you do not want to have that nepotism. And she made her really upset. She's very young at the time, but she had to work her way up, and she said that was the best thing that ever happened to her. I'm big at that too. I'm big at that. So, it's we'll see how this thing works out. Maybe he will make some adjustments, and his son will do fine. For right now, that's a bad look for Belichick, man. 48-14. Not ready to rule out, but I'm just saying these are just observations. We'll see how this thing plays out. Okay. If you like the show, share the show, folks. I'll be back tomorrow with the Mad New Yorker. We'll talk about Arch Manning. We'll talk about the first week. We'll talk about the 5 biggest games this week in the NFL. Okay. All right, folks. Have a good night. I'll see you same time, same place tomorrow here on The Real Sports.